Welcome to Goddesses Unite podcast. Today we're really lucky to have Douglas Peacock with us. So I was actually on Facebook scrolling through as we do, and this video popped up and caught my attention, and I watched it. And it really resonated with me. It made so much sense and it made things so much clearer and easier. So I thought, so I went online and I actually sent a friend request to Doug. He accepted it back. Then 2 days later, the same video popped up again. So I thought, okay, there's obviously something in this I need to watch. So when I watched it the second time around, the video, even though it still made a lot of sense, it actually was a lot deeper for me. It made so much more sense. So I contacted Doug and asked him if he would jump on board with us and actually do a podcast. So I'm going to let Doug introduce himself a little bit and explain what he does, because he has a huge bag of knowledge and wealth behind him. Thank you so much for coming online with us, Doug. Would you please explain to the listeners who you are and a little bit about your journey, please?
Thank you, Susan, for having me. Welcome, guys. Hey, originally I'm a Kiwi, so got an accent there. That's where it's from. And basically, back in 1996, I used to be a plumber. I had my own plumbing business. 1996, I was going through a bit of a time in my life where things were a bit rough. And what happened is, through pure stress and that, I collapsed on a building site. In the collapsing on the building site, this gift of seeing and knowing opened up inside of me, where when I came to, there's no one on the building site with me, but when I came to, I could just see energy. I looked around, I could see energy around trees, and then I saw people, and I could see it around them. I could see things, and I didn't really know what had happened. I didn't think I was crazy, but something had happened, and I went home, and one of my friends turned up, and he ended up taking me to says, "Hey, you should go see my spiritual counselor." So I went and saw this guy and I explained to him what had happened. And he looked at me and nodded and grinned and nodded and grinned. And he says, "Cool, you've just opened up." And I went, "Okay, so what does that mean?" And then he basically took me on a journey of consciousness, of taking me deeper and deeper on what had actually happened. So in the first little part, one of the things that happened is I began to be able to see energy, and then I did a little bit cleaning out work on myself, and then all of a sudden I could see the organs in the body. So part of what I do is people call it medical intuitive. That's just an aspect of what I do. But basically there is a seeing and a knowingness that I have. And then one of the things is I went on a journey, and I got told by Spirit to go around the world and go to America and go to a place called the Monroe Institute. And while there, it's where you go and do a lot of out-of-body work, astral traveling, and just all the metaphysical stuff. And there's heaps of people there that are like-minded, so it's a great place to go and experience and learn. While I was there was a Russian lady, and she became very ill. And all the healers are there, and they're waving all their hands around her and doing all their practices trying to heal her, and nothing was working. And I didn't really get on with the last Russian lady, because I was still very much coming out of being a male chauvinist pig that was very angry. Basically, that's how I was. And we didn't really get on that well. And another friend of mine there asked me if I'd have a look at her. And I went, "Okay, I'll have a look. You got all these healers doing this stuff. What's going on?" And I said, "Okay, I'll have a look." And I walked up to her, looked at her, and says, "Oh, I can see what's wrong with you. You've got a post in your chest." And she looked at her friends, and no one could see anything. And they said, "What do you mean a post?" And I'm meaning like a round post about 4 inches in diameter, stuck dead straight in the center of a heart chakra. And I said, "That's what your problem is." And no one could see it. And she goes, "Oh, no one else can see it." "Oh, well, it's not my problem. I'm not in pain." And, so loving and kind I was. And then she basically said, "Can you do something about it?" And I went, "Yeah." And I just reached over and I pulled it out of her chest, to which she collapsed. And she just totally collapsed back into her chair and sort of like passed out for a bit. And I looked at her, "I'm done." And I wandered off. She came... her and her friends came and saw me about 20 minutes later, totally fine, totally healed. And they said, "How can you do that?" I said, "I don't really know. I can just see." And that's been my life. And then what I do is I trust the divine, and I ask for divine guidance on where I need to go to next, what I need to do. And like I've just been talking to Susan, I've got stories of miracles have happened all over the world for me, where I just go to places and they say, how did you know? And I said, well, I was told, I was shown. It just is. And that's basically was the start of my journey. And now that's happened to me in 96. And now it's been, it's 2018 now. It's been a constant journey of me growing and evolving and going and seeing teachers. I went onto a mountain up in Tibet, went up, sat there with the monks, thought about becoming a monk, but realised it was too blooming cold for me. So I came back, and I just came back to who I am. So I'm a down-to-earth, just easygoing guy that just happens to be able to do this stuff, and I can see energy and how it works and how it works in people's lives. And this is what I want to share with you guys, is how when you understand the energy, you can make your life so much easier.
Thank you so much for that. I actually love listening to that story. I think I could listen to that over and over again. It's actually quite funny, going from plumbing to healing. It's that's a headline on its own, really, at the end of the day. It's funny how you were doing the one end of it, which was more the physical side of providing a service, to then going to doing the spiritual side of providing a service. It's completely different aspects of the coin. I love it. Absolutely love it. So the video you did the other day was in regards to the masculine and the feminine energy. And I found it really, really, really interesting, because when you were going through and explaining it, I could see how in the past I have reacted to someone being outside of their masculine or outside of their feminine. And it wasn't in the way that you said we should. So if you can explain it, it made so much sense when I realized why I should have reacted a different way. But I guess it's kind of like a combative mode when someone comes at us, depending on how they do it energetically wise. Unless we understand what's happening, we usually have our defenses up and come back at them, and it just turns into turmoil. So could you explain to the listeners about the differences in the energy and when people are outside of it, and how we can combat it so we can find peace?
Yeah, sure, fine. One of the things that we all know is we have masculine and feminine energy, and masculine and feminine energy is in everything, or as the Chinese call it, yin yang. One of the things to be aware of is something can be feminine in one context, but in the other context it can be masculine. And when you get to see it and see the energies, and you can never just have feminine energy, or you can never just have yin energy. There will always be a particle of yang in there, even if it is very minute, but it'll always be there. And that's where, if you look at the yin yang symbol, and that's basically the focus that you look at. Energetically, and the way that I look at it is I go, okay, how can this help you the most? And that's what I really wanted to, was wanting to put across in that video that you're talking about, is, well, how do we use it in our day-to-day life? It's one thing to say, yes, I'm masculine or feminine, and how do I know when I'm balanced or unbalanced, and getting into that. And so what we look at is we go, okay, so well, what are some of the traits of the masculine energy? And we look at the masculine energy, and it's great to get things going. If you look at the masculine energy, it's an energy that gets you started. There's movement, and it'll be like first, second gear in a car. It's great to get going, and then you get up to speed. But see, someone that's in their masculine energy, they can change direction really fast. And so, like they can say, you think you get up in the morning, you think you're going to the beach with them, and then they get in the car and they drive out, let's go for a drive in the mountains. And you go, what? I'm dressed for the beach. What's going on? How can you change like that? And you see people in their careers in life, and they're able to change direction like that. Now, another trait of the masculine person, of the masculine energy, which is quite interesting, is they tend to blame others. And this is where you look at the energies in your life. Like a masculine person will blame someone and say, it's your fault, you're to blame. They'll project outwardly. Where a feminine person will blame themselves. and they will tend to go inwardly. Now, when a masculine person does it, and I'm just going to stop there for a minute about masculine and those two things, those two parts. But what I want you to look at, think about in your life, right here, right now, where you're in a situation where something comes up and you go to blame something. What you're doing is going straight into the masculine energy. And if you're blaming yourself in it, you've got, or thinking that you're not good enough, or it's your fault, or gee, they can have it. One of the things that happens is you drop straight into the feminine energy. And both ways, you are out of balance. Now, you can look at something, you can look at a situation, and I know in my own life, I'll go, oh, there's that, and I'll go to blame. I go, whoa, you've just, because the energy that's there, you've gone to go into your masculine energy, and I catch myself. I go, no, it's what's happening, because everything just is. When you understand consciousness and energy in every situation, everything is there. And you look at it, imagine having a ball of energy, and the masculine and feminine are both there. It's balanced, and it's out on the total parameters on the outside. It'll be out of balance if you were just standing out there. And so you look at every situation and you bring it to the center and you bring it balanced. Go, okay, it just is. If I go to my left, I'm going into my feminine. How far do I want to go there? And if you go that far to the left, then if you want to bring it back to masculine, you've got to go back, bring it back that far. So there's polarity. The law, the universal law of polarity, and the universal law of distance. If you go in a certain direction, like they say, from Gold Coast where I am to Perth is X amount of miles for me to fly there. For me to fly back, it's exactly the same amount of miles. It's always the same. And when you understand energy like that, you look at it and you go, oh, it's not actually a problem. It's a masculine energy which is coming at me and pushing at me. Now, how do I adjust when I'm under attack, when I feel like I'm under attack, when I'm in reaction mode? What do I do? So you look at your life and you go, okay, so someone's blaming me. What's the concept? What do I tend to do? I feel the pressure against me. And then, when you feel the pressure, it's like something they're pushing against you. And inside of you, you will feel resistance come up, and so you push back. And so then you go into conflict, and quite quickly you find you're in reaction mode. They say something, you say something, you're both in your masculine energies, which then takes you into being, you may go into domination, you may go interrogation, intimidation. This is where it starts escalating. It started off when someone said something, they have accused something, and you've now gone to domination to try and push back. They've gone interrogation to find out what it's about. Then you've gone back to intimidation to try and get over the top of them. Then they come back and you get aggressive. And then if you keep going up, you get explosive. And if you go above that, you become violent. If you go above that, like war, which isn't really helpful. But if you look at what happens is when we get up to the certain level of explosion, what happens is there's a safety valve put inside of us in our consciousness where we let go, and you will find that you would then go over to the feminine energy, and the thing that happens there is you tend to go into depression. Submissive, resigned, aloof, manipulation, then come back down into the balance. And in the middle, what we look at is the calmness and the assertiveness and being able to think and be able to be self-assured and confident. And that's when we get into the balance. So in every situation, you'll notice that you can feel quite self-assured, quite calm, quite passive, and thinking. But when someone pushes the energy, and they may push masculine energy on you, you're either going to push back with masculine energy, or you'll go to the other side and you'll tend to go into manipulation, aloofness, submissiveness, resigned, and things like that. And if you look at your conversation, even with yourself, look at when you go assertive or you get mad or aggressive with yourself, you get angry at yourself, and you start saying not nice things. That's the masculine energy coming through, and you'll then tend to want to fight back, or you'll go passive. Now, the thing that I want you to understand with a feminine energy, so that's a little bit about the masculine energy. When you come back over to the feminine energy, you look at what are some of the traits of the feminine energy? And they tend to be they're like third and fourth gear in the car, or the higher gears. A masculine person, a person in the masculine energy, changes direction really fast. Someone in the feminine energy, they don't like changing direction real fast. They like to they would love a steady straight road, like going across the Nullarbor. They would be happier than a pig in poo, just sitting there driving across the Nullarbor, because there's no changes of direction, there's no fast moving from side to side. The masculine, the yang energy, they'd get as bored as anything. And so you got the feminine enjoying themselves and the masculine going, this sucks. And you look at it and you go, wow, where does that happen in my life? Where do I love being stimulated heaps, and then where do I just like it to be nice and easy going? And you'll tend to notice that you've got certain areas that work in those energies. Now, a yin person also, or a feminine yin energy, what they also tend to do is you ask them to do something and they can't make their mind up. They'll come up with 10 ideas. And it drives a masculine person, yang person, nuts, because the feminine person's come up with so many ideas they don't know which one to choose. They can't get started. Where the masculine person will go, just choose one. Let's get going. Let's do something. But a masculine energy is great at starting stuff, but kind of sucks at finishing stuff. Where the feminine energy is not very good at getting started, but it's great at making sure things come to completion. And so when we have them in balance inside of us, we're able to start new projects and see them through to finishing. And so you look at the energy, and then you also look at it from a place of when you go into competition. A masculine energy will go into competition where they must be right, and they have to win at all cost. And where a feminine energy will go into it, and they will find that they will give in, and they'll blame themselves. And if I don't win, they will take it from me anyway, so it doesn't matter. And it's like this collapsing. So a feminine energy. And if you ever look at a relationship where someone seems to be controlling and they're trying to dominate, and you see it in couples, I'll use my parents for an example. My dad was very yang energy, very masculine energy. He's really old school, brought up in the just after the war and that, and they had to struggle. And he has very, very dominating type energy. Mum couldn't combat that, so she became masterful at manipulating him and getting around the back door, taking the, so-called, taking the money out of the back pocket while he's going, I'm all this, rah, rah. And she sneaks around the back, gets the money, and she gets what she wants. Or she planted seeds in his, through things she'd say to him, so that he'd end up thinking he came up with this idea that we should do X, Y, Z. Now, the thing about it that you look at it from and say, okay, my mum learned how to deal with the dominating area. And if you look at the energies in your life, you look at your relationships. Are you the one that's dominating, controlling person in the relationship, or do you control through manipulation? Both types try to control. One does it through power, coming over the top, or trying to be powerful, which actually they are. It's a strength. And the other one's trying to do it through the back door, because they know they can't physically match them head on. And so they step aside, come around the back, and they can tend to keep the masculine person off guard. A golden example of this, what I mean, is you watch a masculine and a feminine person, a feminine energy, have an argument. And the description I like to use is the masculine energy would be like say a pit bull dog having a crack at it. The feminine energy would be like a hedgehog, and it just rolls up into a ball, or a turtle. It just goes into its shell. Who do you think's going to win in the long run? The dominating one will come there and try and bite it, and it's sitting there just barking at it. Meanwhile, the person who's in the feminine energy goes into their turtle shell, turns the telly on, and just watches telly oh, the storm will pass. And it's really frustrating if you're a masculine energy trying to have a communication with someone in their feminine energy, and all they're doing is sitting in there and they're waiting until the storm calms down, and they go aloof. And no matter what you say to them, you can't get any common sense out of them because they just won't engage. And you can see this in people's relationships where they are trying to get things done. One person will come in all barky, and the other person just keeps going passive, and they go to it's a form of manipulation or aloofness, and they go submissive, and the energy breaks down. But there is a way to dance with it properly. Is this making sense to you?
It does, and sadly enough, I can actually see myself in every single one of those aspects that you've just spoken about. I can see, relationship-wise, obviously with one person being so much more dominating, and initially, I guess from my point, I tried to counteract back with the whole masculine, and that just doesn't work. That just turns into two masculines, headbutting each other, and it turns into chaos and fire. It just fizzles and it just stays alight. So I guess I then kind of learned to do the opposite when that happens, and I do the whole, okay, that's all right. I'll leave you to have your time. You need to do whatever you need to do at the moment. I can't be a part of this, and I kind of remove myself. So I can see the whole turtle, which, by the way, the turtle is my spirit animal. That's another story. I can see why. And I can also see the fact, like we were talking about before, about just in yourself and swinging, that, the amount of polarity that's between the feminine and the masculine at both ends of that spectrum. And I think we had this conversation Monday, and I said to you, for so long I sat in my masculine energy, and I didn't even know I was just doing. So I was making sure I earned enough money for the kids and raising my kids and doing everything I needed to do and trying to get my career up and running off the ground and managing staff and doing all that sort of thing. And I was sitting so much in my masculine that when it came time, I think I might have mentioned this to you already, I actually had to Google what feminine energy was, because I thought I was in the feminine. I wore dresses, I had my hair done, my nails were done, I had high heels on. I thought that was feminine. And I actually had to Google what the feminine energy was to go, hang on a sec, where am I sitting here? And I was so busy doing, I never spent any time just being and flowing. I was constantly striving. It was constantly like, right, lists are done, get up in the morning, let's get it going, let's make it happen, until I went to bed at nighttime. So that was what my life had been for so long. And it's surprising now that I find if I spend too much time sitting in that masculine energy for whatever reason, whether it be projects I've got on at work or whatever, I'm exhausted. I'm actually so tired from sitting in that spot of I have to have that time now. I never used to, but now I need to have that time where I can just be. I just need that time where I sit and I look at the clouds and I look at the sky and I look at the trees and I listen to the birds, and it's just that chilled type time. I have to have that now. Otherwise, if I don't get it, I find I become so unbalanced.
Yeah, that's so common. And you're saying exactly what most people experience. And I was the same. And, like when it comes to people think they're in their masculine energy, quite often they're actually in their yin energy or their feminine energy, trying to be what they think masculine looks like. And they, I see these people and they're talking and saying, oh, no, I'm being assertive. And they're not. They're being aggressive because they don't know what it feels like to be comfortable in their masculine energy. And the same way with the people who are trying to be, they think they're being passive and they're actually being resigned or submissive. And it's a manipulating type energy. And they don't recognize it because they're so out of balance with the energy. And where exactly what you said about you get to Google what feminine energy is like. Most people don't know what it is to be like in your feminine energy. And most guys, like females, don't know what it's like to be in their feminine energy because they look at their mum and they think, oh, that's what feminine looks like. Well, no, that's mum's version. And then you look at dad, and that's what masculine looks like. And if I looked at my dad, he was just an angry little man. And I go, whoa, dude. And that wasn't masculine. That was him in pain. And then when I was lucky in America, I was at a conference, and this guy said to me, he says, Doug, you're out of balance with your feminine energy. And he says, it's like you're in an orb, you're in an eggshell type thing, and you sort of like cracked the energy. And I was able to step out of it, and it was completely different what it felt like. I went, oh, I thought I was being feminine, but what I was actually doing, I was actually being manipulated and submissive and going aloof. And yet I thought I was being allowing my feminine energy to show. And it was really an eye-opener. And there are so many people out there that are doing this. And the biggest one, that comes up, and it's something that I didn't share before, a person in their feminine energy, when they go up the scale, they go up to manipulation, go aloof, manipulation, submissive, resigned, then they go up to implosion, and if they go depression, then implosion, and then it tends to go up. You'd go to suicide. That would be where you would end up. But what happens is when you implode, you'll tend to fly across the other side and go into your masculine energy with anger, and because you can't beat yourself up anymore, and so you tend to attack outwardly. Whereas a masculine energy will tend to go up to attack. And when they go to explode, they then go and beat themselves up internally. You won't stay in those opposite ones very long. You'll tend to come back down into balance. And it's a pendulum. But the thing that you look at is where we get caught is our perception of what we think masculine energy looks like, or what our perception is of what feminine energy looks like. And, there is a way to deal with it. And, one of the things I just touched on is, and I touched on in that little video, is when someone comes at me with a strong masculine attack type energy, I just go into love. I just go into my heart and become open. I allow myself to open. And when I go into the openness, the masculine energy, it's like they can't push on anything. And it's like all of a sudden that just drops away, and the energy just pushes through. And it's quite confusing when you do it for the first time, because quite often, I know when I did it for the first time, I got angry because I wasn't pushing back anymore. And I felt this anger come from, what are you getting angry at? There's nothing to get angry at. And then the other person sort of got angry, and then we just both popped, and then we both came into calmness, and we came into balance. And so that's the way that you can deal with the masculine energy when it comes at you. You just go into this open, beautiful space, and then the masculine energy will just pass through. It's a bit like doing a keto. You allow them, in martial arts, you just allow them to pass by, and you use their weight to throw them. You don't got to fight back. When it comes to the feminine energy, if someone's being manipulative, or they're trying to be submissive and aloof with you, what you need to do from a masculine to bring the energy back into balance is you bring everything down to one point. Because the masculine energy compresses it down to one point. The masculine energy is great at building things, building blocks. That's what it's about. Feminine energy is very expansive. So what you do here is you bring the the feminine energy comes at you manipulating, aloof, submissive, or whatever. And then what you do is you just come to one point, and you say, okay, so we've got X, Y, Z, and you get an agreement of a congruent yes or a congruent no on one point. Because if you ever notice someone in their feminine energy when they're having a conversation with you, you think you're working on one point, and then you're looking at something else. Then you're looking at something else. And you never get closure on anything, and you're continually ducking and diving because they keep you off balance. They keep a masculine person energy off balance. And the masculine person, it drives them nuts. And the feminine energy will tend to win because they just keep moving. And before you get very far, the masculine person finds that they think, that was my point that I was arguing with. How come I'm wrong with it now? And they're totally confused. And it's really quite fun to watch the dance of it nowadays. Well, for me it is now because I understand it. And so one of the things that you look at is you go, okay, if I've got this person keeps changing, manipulating or changing degrees on me, the thing I have to ask myself, okay, so what is the one point I want to work on here? Okay, so it's about little Mary going out till 10 o'clock at night. Well, I want her home at 9. Okay, and she goes, yeah, but all my friends are doing this and da-da-da. It goes around in circles. You go, no, 9 o'clock. Are you prepared to come home at 9? And they'll go, well, but blah, blah, but you said, John, and last week I did this, and then I did this. You go, no, tonight, 9 o'clock. You good? And they'll go, okay, yep, I can do that. Good. Right, now the next thing, and then you go look at the next thing. But you get a congruent answer. And that's how you deal best with those kind of energies. So if that, when you look in your life, and the thing, don't only look at it with other people, look at it where you do this with yourself. Where do you manipulate yourself and keep you off balance by putting all these little tasks? Oh, yeah, but I could do this or I could do that. No, one first, clean that up so that's bang, held there. And then if you get a masculine energy, no, you've got to do this first. Allow the energy to go first through, and then you ask, okay, so by doing that, what does that create for us? Where are we going? How does it open up? And you find the energy will just let go. Cool, yeah. So just allow that to be there. It's getting quite a lot in here, so I've got to just make sure I don't go blah too much.
No, that's actually really, really good. And I love the fact you're giving the examples to it, so it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I'm just kind of looking at it from the relationship angle, so we've touched on that slightly. And obviously you can't have two masculines or two feminines energies actually in a relationship, in an intimate relationship together. That doesn't work, does it?
No, you'll tend to, one person will always be more masculine than the other. In my relationship with my wife, we're balanced, because you're masculine, feminine, you got balanced in the middle. What you're aiming for is balance. I've got a chart, and this is where on the webinar that I'm going to show people on this chart, and you can actually do this chart and see where you're at. And in our relationship, my wife is, she used to be masculine, and I was feminine. And I would be sort of my feminine energy, and she'd be more in a masculine energy. She's an athlete. She's represented New Zealand and Australia at top level. So not surprising she's, uses a masculine energy. But I worked with Natalie Cook, the beach volleyball player that got a gold medal at the Olympics. And I was working with her, and she was so much in her masculine energy, it wasn't funny. And I had to teach her how to balance the energies. And this is one thing that I actually will do on that webinar, is actually get everyone to feel what it feels like to be in your masculine energy, then feel what it's like to be in your feminine energy, and then bring yourself into adjustment. One of the things that that we look at here is how do we go? See, there's two things. Just unwind. Hold on. Let's get that knee and come back. There we go. If we go into looking at the masculine and feminine energy, you could be, because what we do is we do a chart on yourself. Are you in a certain situation? Are you more adventurous, or do you sit back? And you'll tick one, and you go one of those two answers. And you'll find maybe in your own personal life with you could be balanced, or you could be masculine. Then you're with your partner, and your partner's quite masculine in certain things. So he would be more adventurous than what you are. So so then on the chart that you look at, I'm more feminine here. And you can be masculine, what you think in your own life with yourself. Then in a certain relationship, you will be feminine. Then in another relationship, you may be masculine. And in other relationships, you may be balanced. And so each situation you go into, you can look at, well, hold on, in the context of this relationship or this workplace, where am I? And you could have a real dominating masculine energy there. Okay, in this, I feel threatened, and I'm coming through, and I feel in my feminine energy. And so once you know that, then you recognize that, hold on, I need to get myself back into a balanced space. Once I get back into the balanced space, you can tell when the tension comes on and you start getting stressed. As soon as you start getting stressed, you'll go into the manipulated or loose stages. Or if you tend to be in your masculine energy and you start getting stressed there, they start loading up work or whatever on you, and then you find you start dominating and trying to control, and then you tend to go get aggressive. and come back. And I see it all the time with clients and that, and they'll be in their work situation and they'll be going along quite calm, and someone will say something, and then all of a sudden their dominating energy just comes out. So it changes from, because you see where you are in yourself, and well, when we do seminars, I tend to find you get a bunch of people that are in their masculine energies, a bunch of people in their feminine energies, and they just laugh. Oh, you are so like my husband, or you're so like my partner, and you can see how it plays out, and you can begin to hear what they're thinking and what's going on, processing inside of them. And one of the reasons why we tend to be in one energy more than the other is because we're scared of what's going to happen in the other. And I'll just share with your listeners this little thing about myself. When I was young, because my dad was so dominating, I was scared to be in my masculine energy. And so I went and hung out in my feminine energy. It was safer. Because if I tried to be dominant, controlling and dominating against Dad, man, I just got set on my butt. And so I went into the feminine energy, which wasn't my natural state, but I learned to live there, and I basically went through most of my life up until 96 being like that. And I would manipulate and copy mum as a way of survival. And then once I came into work, found all the stuff out and came back into balance, I then had to face the resistance of being in my masculine energy. Now, what I mean by the resistance, it was the fear of stepping into the power or the strength of being masculine. Because masculine energy has strength, feminine energy has power. And here I was thinking I was being strong, but I was trying to be powerful with a feminine energy trying to be strong. It just doesn't work. And it collapses down. And I've been my biggest guinea pig on working on things and opening up to see how it unravels. And I see this in everybody. And I'll see people thinking that they're actually being strong, and they're not. They're in their feminine energy. Or I'll see a guy trying to be powerful, but no, he's just lifting heavy things and trying to be strong and thinking he's powerful, and you just got to tap them, and they collapse and they go, oh, I'm so useless, and then their self-worth goes down, and then they start blaming everybody, and it's really interesting to watch. So the key here is all about moving to a place of acceptance. When you get hurt, when you feel the pain and the hurt inside of yourself, and you're going towards the masculine energy, you feel like it's gonna take you over, and you feel so weak and powerless and things like that. But you go in and you just touch it. And one thing, a tip for you do with anything, don't ever try and get it out. Just love it. Just love it. When you hold your space, love, you set yourself free.
I love that. Yeah, it's been amazing. I think I could have podcasts with you every week and find a new topic that we could speak on. We might talk about that later. So, Doug, I'm going to wind it up a little bit. Thank you so much for running through this with us. Now, you've got a webinar. You spoke about your webinar. Can you explain to the listeners a little bit about your webinar that you've got coming up? On
the 7th of June, I'm doing a webinar, and it's on the masculine, feminine energies, and there'll be charts, and I'll actually share with you the little chart on how to tell whether you are in your masculine energy or feminine energy. And you can actually go through it while I'm doing the talk with you. And I'll go into a little bit more deep, and I'll slow it down so that you get a little bit more understanding on how this plays in your life, and then how you can use it. So, and that's just, it's going to be 7:30 Queensland time, 9:30 New Zealand time, and 5:30 Western Australian time. Yeah. So we're going to be running it there. It's there's going to be you're just going to register, and you get to see that there. And this is the process that I used at the start when I began to understand this, and it changed my life of understanding energy. And I smile at it here because there's something in there, about when you begin to start untangling one that happens to you, and I'll share that on the webinar, because it's so cool when you see it happen to yourself. You go, oh no, I'm doing it, he was right. But I'll share that
I
on
had
the
that
webinar.
feeling most of this podcast, I must admit. Most of this podcast, I had the whole, yep, I've done that. Yep, I can see when I've done that. Okay, so we've got the webinar, so we're going to put the link for the webinar up. So please go on, jump on and register for the webinar. I'm definitely going to jump on that one. And if people want to get in contact with you, because if you actually have a look after you've done the webinar or before then, jump on to Doug's website. I'll put the link up to that on there. And you can see the amazing things that he's actually doing, like that, not from just from events, but he also does online stuff, via Zoom calls, via private calls. Yeah, I must admit, I was pretty blown away when I looked at it. Is there any other ways that people can connect up with you or that you would prefer?
The easiest way is to go onto my website, douglaspeacock.com. It's nice and easy. And you can just link. There's a ask me a question, and just send me through. If you've got a situation, you're not sure whether you want to work with us, not sure what to do, just give me a call. Just send me a message, and I'll give you a call, and we'll have a quick chat. Because one of the things I can do, is I can tune into anyone, anywhere in the world. It does not matter, and it just quite often someone will ring up and say, "Oh, I don't know whether we need to this," and I'll say, "Okay, you got this spot here. The energy's caught like this. It's doing this. It's doing that." And they go, "How the hell do you know?" And I just know. I can just see it, and it's just one of those things. So I get quite a few people call me, and it's obligation free for just to say, "Hey, this is," and I'll tell you where you're at. And I say, "Right, this is what you need to do. This is." From my eyes, what I'd see with the energy, this is how I can help you best, and that's what I'd love to do. There's also on my website. There's a products page. There's a couple of free. There's an ebook and a stress release process. It's so easy and so simple when you'd laugh when you see it. It's so basic. You go, "Oh my God, this just makes so much sense," but it works and it's great. I use it in traffic, in a lot of traffic and things like that. And you just drop the energy, and it's a great little free product that I've got there. There's a free meditation that's going to be free for about another week, and then I'm going to put a price on it. It's a certain meditation where you clean your chakras out, and then there's the events. One thing that I don't have on the website yet, and this is something that I talked to Susan about earlier, was if you'd like us to come down to where you are to hold an event, then give us a call, because I go anywhere. I travel all over the world, and it's just a matter of if you get the people there, I'll come. I don't mind coming to see you, and I get to have a look around and see what the country's like. It's beautiful. I'm totally driven by spirit.
Thank you so much. Like I said, I'm going to put the links for the website, the webinar. Make sure you jump on that webinar and find out a little bit more about this. And go on and have a look at Doug's website. Go and have a look around. Actually, like I said, I'd already connected up with him, already arranged this podcast before I got a chance to look at the website. Should have done that first. And when I went onto the website, I was completely blown away by it. Absolutely loved it. And I have sent the link to a few other people. So go on, have a look, and let us all know what you think. And thank you very much again, Doug, for coming and joining us today and taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and do this. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.